All right, Ted, thanks. And as that wildfire smoke from Mexico intensifies here, outdoor workers will be forced to breathe it. But this month, state lawmakers passed a law requiring Nevada employers to offer workers more protections from unhealthy air. Fox 5's Kim Passoff is live to explain.
Yeah, so while we might think of extreme heat as the biggest danger facing outdoor Nevada workers, advocates say that wildfire smoke events cannot be ignored. And now, by state law, employers must address it.
The smoke from wildfires contains particle pollutants that are harmful to our health. They get into our lungs and our bloodstream and can cause long-term health effects.
During a town hall on workers' rights, Senate Bill 260, signed into law by Governor Joe Lombardo earlier this month, was touted as a significant step towards protecting Nevada's outdoor workers from the health risks associated with wildfire smoke exposure. It mandates employers ensure worker safety during periods of poor air quality caused by wildfires.
We know in Nevada that wildfires are becoming more frequent, more severe, and lasting longer due to hotter temperatures and the dry climate that we have in the west.
This is what the blanket of smoke looked like Monday over the valley from Black Mountain, as Nevada OSHA is now tasked with creating the new wildfire smoke regulations. By law, employers will have to monitor air quality and limit work during dangerous smoke conditions. Employees also must be allowed to report poor air quality and if they start to feel sick. And when the air quality index reaches a certain level, employers must stop some work altogether. And the law also mandates training for outdoor employees on the risk of being exposed to wildfire smoke and also the danger of not using PPE. Much of the law went into effect immediately upon the governor's signature earlier this month. The rest of it will go into effect on January 1st. Reporting live tonight, Kim Passoff, Fox 5 News, local, Las Vegas.
And there are exemptions to the law. The requirements do not apply to mine operators, commercial truck drivers, emergency service providers, or employers with 10 or fewer employees.